I'm sure this has happened to every single one of us at least once. You get these great news and you want to jump out of your chair, maybe do some cartwheels. For me, I wanted to give every single person a high five and say, oh my gosh, I have been offered a TEDx talk. It was a real dream come true. But reality set in, and all of a sudden, I thought, well, maybe I'll tell a few people. And if I do, knowing me, I'm going to somehow make sure I sound humble if I have enough courage to tell people what I'm doing soon. And why is that? Why is it that we can't tell people what we're doing? I thought, well, society has taught us not to brag about ourselves, not to sound conceited, or be able to be bragging everything that you've done. But for me, I thought, well, what if we can unapologetically brag about our accomplishments? And today, that's what I'm going to tell you. There's 5 tips that can help not only be able to properly share your accomplishments, but build up your confidence. Now, we can't deny that the numbers don't lie. When we look at the wage gap, and for those that aren't familiar with what the wage gap is, this is where males make more money than females. And last year's research will show that males can make, to the dollar you say, for Asian American women, they earn about 91 cents to the dollar. For Caucasian women, they're earning 80 cents to the dollar. For African American women, they're earning 64 cents to the dollar. Native American women are making 57 cents to the dollar, and Latinas are earning about 53 cents to their male counterpart. And being Latina myself, I know these numbers are very real. But there's obviously many reasons that have to deal with the wage gap, and one of them is the confidence that comes with it. And for most of us, we actually deal with what we call the imposter syndrome, for women especially. If you don't know what the imposter syndrome is, this is the psychological thinking of you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, and that builds a lot of anxiety, which obviously affects our confidence. So let's go right into the 5 steps that can help not only build this for you. Number 1, you need to get a mentor. A mentor can be a coach, it can be someone that will advise you and notice what your true strengths are and can help guide you and build that confidence for you. I've been fortunate, I've had many mentors in my life, and one I remember is still my boss, my very first boss, running to my desk and saying, is this your organization that you've been working on the past couple years? Is this yours on the front page of the LA Times? And this was me. Yeah, that's us. You know, not a big deal. And he looked at me and said, why did you make it sound like all those years of work on this nonprofit isn't a big deal? And I said, well, I was taught not to brag about ourselves, and the truth is, the work will be eventually recognized. And he said, first of all, that's a mistake. He says, you know how many people you missed out on getting donations, people investing in your cause? He made me think about that for a minute. And he was right. All that work that so many of the volunteers, so many of us put into, and I devalued our work. He says, people invest in people. So make sure you tell them what you're doing and be proud about it. That was definitely an eye-opener for me. And one of my colleagues, she's a PhD, has a successful practice. And from the very beginning, she always would tell people, I have my PhD. And she says it so unapologetically proud. And I ask her, why do you do this? And she's like, well, it took me about 15 years of formal education after high school, because she was a single mother of 3. And it was a really difficult challenge and journey for her to earn her doctorate. And she thought, other people need to hear this, because then they feel they can do it too. And for me, I thought, you're right, it's not about us. And these mentors were teaching me something valuable. So looking for that mentor is key. Number 2 is a time for you to reflect, but list all of your accomplishments and your challenges. Now, when you list your accomplishments, this is a time for you to reflect and be happy, but your challenges can be a little difficult for you, obviously, for all of us, because that means we have to be vulnerable. We have to share maybe something that was something we probably never want to speak of again. Brené Brown, for those who have seen her TED Talk, does say we need to be vulnerable. We need to share our ideas and tell them what our journey was, because the journey is just as important to the destination. So being able to list your accomplishments will make you happy and proud and build that confidence. But being able to share your challenges can really let people know why it took you so much work and why it's really worth it for them to know what you've overcome. Number 3, this is the best one, I think, is recruiting a cheerleader or a wingman. So your cheerleader or wingman are obviously those people that will hype you up and get you excited, and more importantly, they will share your accomplishments for you. So many of us in the room, we have no problem bragging about our friends. Did you hear about my friend? Oh my gosh, she's amazing, he's wonderful, she's doing all these amazing things. But when it comes to telling people what we're doing, we fall short, and it becomes really uncomfortable. But recruiting someone that will be able to possibly help you brag at networking events, at your work, this will allow more inclusivity and allow you to feel more confident as you hear them say, yeah, I really did those things. Melinda Gates came out with this study. Last year she was saying that less than 5% of women are CEOs in companies. So that means we're missing out on buying power, that means we're missing out on making those decisions and really being able to make change in our communities. So the lack of representation in those companies is obviously we need to see women in the executive level, in the C-suites. And so your wingman or your cheerleader will most likely be the best ally and be able to help you shine in front of your coworkers, your boss, and really inspire other people that need to hear it too. Number 4, practice, practice, practice. How do you practice unapologetically telling your challenges and your accomplishments? Writing those down, maybe doing like an elevator pitch under 2 minutes and saying, you know what, I did this, I was the first to do this, and for me that was a huge change, a game changer really, because it allowed me to hone on my story, and even my body posture became to change. And I see this all across women when I do conferences like this, and they'll say it, yeah, that was a big deal for me, I need to share that. And when you practice your story, you become more confident, you become more relatable, and people really see that you own who you are. I am so fortunate to know amazing women in my life, and one is this amazing colleague. She's Arling Hamilton. She was on the front page of the Fast Company magazine, and she is an African-American woman who funds mostly black and brown startup women-owned businesses, because those are the ones that are lacking the most, especially in the tech and finance industry, which I've been in so many years. And when you see someone like that, you feel represented. You see that there's some change. You see that there's women in the front doing amazing things. But she learned to practice her story early on. It's incredible to hear that she's funded so many millions of dollars into these startup companies. But really, her impressive story is when she says, I was homeless for the first few years when I was starting my company. Because she knew those were sacrifices she had to do in order to invest in others. And that's key. So when we understand that we're practicing our story, we feel less nervous, we feel less ashamed, and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. So take that time to practice. Now, number 5. Number 5 is probably where people decide not to do it. It's celebrate. Celebrate your accomplishments. As I told you in the beginning, I wanted to give every single person a high five. But we have to understand if we don't celebrate, we're missing an opportunity to really share every single person in our lives that help us to get where we are today. I had an aha moment at graduation. My college graduation, I remember thinking, do I really have to attend the ceremony? I already finished. I was ready to go to the beach and just get my diploma. I did not want to sit in the sun and wait for hundreds of other people to get their diplomas. But of course, I showed up to the ceremony, and seeing my parents, my grandparents, my family, my cousins, my friends, my professors, people that invested in me, I realized it wasn't about just me. It was about all of their sacrifices, all of their support and love that they put towards making me who I am today. Both my grandmothers had very little education, and seeing the sacrifices that they've put to instill that education was such a wonderful opportunity. I became the first in my family to graduate, not just from college, but getting my master's and being part of this small 4% of Latinos that have this degree. So when we learn to celebrate, it's not just about us. It's maybe that woman or that girl that needs to hear that it's possible for them to overcome their challenges and say, she did it, I can do it too. We can see those changes in not only our businesses, but our governments and our communities. Because together we can do amazing things, but together we can help close that wage gap by decreasing the confidence gap. So, next time you feel like you're not available or you're not really ready to be confident and tell your story, Just think of those 5 tips. Get a mentor. List your challenges and accomplishments. Your cheerleader, your wingman. Practice, practice, practice. And celebrate. Because together, we can definitely decrease that confidence gap. Thank you.